think so.
We think we're live. Good morning, everybody. We're going to assume we're live. Here we are again, my team. Gail Dufresne, the Education Chair. And this is our second live Facebook presentation. Some of you may have come to the last one, which we talked about Prati. This time we're sort of going to go back to the basics, and we're going to talk about Rug Hooking 101. Because what the mission of ATHA is to promote the art of rug hooking, and so you can't learn it if you don't know that it exists. So what we're going to do is a basic presentation. It's for brand new people that we hope are here. I noticed several posts where people were telling their friends to come and watch it for one reason or another. Somebody said someone else was taking a class and might help with the class. And so I think some people are new or remedial, or not remedial, new, or they don't have that much experience. And then maybe some of those of you who teach might learn something about how to teach, because I have been teaching since 2000. I have, by the way, been hooking since 1984, which is 38 years. I'll just do the math for you, which I couldn't believe. I just figured that out. And I was lucky to learn about rug hooking through my mother, who started hooking when I was 16, and she hooked at our house. So she had classes at the house, and I have been around rug hooking all my life, but a lot of people don't even know it exists. And I think a lot of people think younger people aren't getting into it because they're too busy or because they have kids, but a lot of it is they just don't even know it exists. And I'm going to introduce my people, and I'm going to tell you something about Amy that you don't know yet. But for those of you who know, my Vanna Amy is a rug hooker. I did not mention that the last time, but she is 41? 42. So she's sort of the clientele we'd like, because I think in the rug hooking world now, I think 50 is like a baby. So Amy's age is perfect. Amy's a very busy person, but she found out about rug hooking, and she's going to tell you her story. But first I want to introduce our cameraman, Mark Snyder.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, that's you.
How do I do this?
Okay, you come this way.
Oh, I have to go that way.
He's very cute, so we want to show him. There he is.
Okay, no.
And he's going to go around, and he's going to be doing close-ups. He's going to do everything. This is like the 4th time we have taped things, I believe, and he's really, really good at this. He just knows what to look at. And here's another thing I want to do, just in case, for those of you who haven't seen my studio before, he's going to scan the studio so you can see this is traditional rug hooking, what we're doing. And all of these rugs are traditional rug hooking. Now, they might have more different techniques that are beyond traditional, but basically I learned traditional rug hooking, and that's what we're going to teach you today. So do a scan, and you can, and oh, the lovely Vanna Amy is going to hold this on Vanna. So here's the Vanna.
Different textures.
Yeah, different textures. I'm into textures. We're not going to get into a lot of this funky stuff now. We're definitely not going to get into funky stuff like this now, but this is, this is what, just go around and like pick up, just go around that one and pick up some stuff.
Sheep.
Some hooking. I got a lot of inch mats. You see the background of the geometric inch mats. They're another thing, not too traditional, but that's okay. That's sculpted, but again, traditional. Again, I do a lot of Prati, which of course is what I talked about last week. A lot of people wanted me to talk about Prati, plus I love it. So I do a lot of Prati, that's sculpting. And then, lots of footstools. This is all what you can do with traditional rug hooking. What's amazing about rug hooking is how simple it is to learn. It's one stitch. For those of you who do things like needlepoint and quilting, there's all kinds of different stitches. With rug hooking, there's just one thing to learn how to do. And while you're looking at that also, I want to tell you that one of my student friends who's been coming here for 20 years for classes is also going to come today. She's going to be a little late. And she is going to monitor for questions, because it's hard for Mark to do both of them. And I really want you to be able to ask questions. I want it to be interactive, because it's way more fun for me and it's way more fun for you. And I want you to stop me if I talk too fast, because I always talk too fast. So it's better if you try to stop me. And yeah, that's something we're going to talk about today. So I think that's pretty good, Amy. So now we're going to dive into it. I have all kinds of periodicals and information to impart to you, to give you information on what kind of materials we use or where you can get different materials. But what I thought I would do is, rather than do that when you might not know what rug hooking is already, we're going to start right in with rug hooking. So I have a deal here set up. Somebody's husband made this for me, and I'm going to show you how to hook on this. And you're going to be able to see, and I know those of you who don't know how to hook are still not going to know what I'm talking about, but you're going to be able to see, like, this is a opaque backing. You're going to be able to see what I'm doing underneath. Meanwhile, Amy, who's a brand new hooker, is going to be actually hooking. So Mark is going to go back and forth. So go ahead, Amy.
So I started hooking about a year ago. This is the only thing I've done. And it was very exciting and very impressive because I learned when Gail just had shoulder surgery. She walked in the door after surgery and said, "I'm going to teach you how to hook." And then it began. So it was very impromptu teaching. I'm not going to lie, but she did it. I mean, I think it turned out pretty cool.
So she's not going to tell you what I really am going to tell you because I think it's funny. I want to point out that I was on Percocet.
She was on Percocet.
So I was a little wound up, and I don't remember teaching her.
So,
but I know we had fun. So Amy hooked this. She started it about a year ago and hooked the whole thing. She hasn't gotten around to doing the background, but she's loved everything that she's done, and I taught her.
Yeah.
So the first thing that Amy's going to do is I started her on a hoop. You can start on a hoop or a frame, and Amy has a basic hoop. And so she's going to put that on and make it. I think I'm going to do it at the same time, Mark. So I also I'm set up here to put my backing on a hoop.
And a little request to talk a little louder.
Talk a little louder? Okay. I'm not usually told that. So this hoop, I have to tell you, I like better than that hoop. That's a Morgan hoop. That's a really inexpensive hoop. You can get that hoop. And another thing, I want to tell you how to do it cheaply to start, because you can get really expensive with this. And a lot of people think people don't get into rug hooking because it's expensive, but it doesn't have to be expensive. This hoop is a $25 hoop. That hoop is probably a $10 hoop. So the $10 hoop is okay. The $25 hoop is fabulous, and I don't use anything but a hoop. I never went to a frame, which most people do when I'm going to have a frame that I recommend for you that's cheap, but I'm going to use a hoop because that's what I use and because it's the cheapest. So I am going to take this part of the frame and put it underneath my backing, which my backing is linen. Amy's is too. Linen is my backing of choice. Then I'm going to take this part of the hoop that has this, pardon the technical terms, this
contraption
thing, you know, the screw and that stuff. So this is how you tighten up the hoop, like this, because you want the material to be very tight and taut so that you can get your loops. So Amy, this is what you want to do.
Like that?
Yes, you can go over it. A lot of people think with a hoop they can't go over the work, that it squashes it. It's going to pop right up. Wool and most fabric that we use has some kind of flexibility, so it's just going to come right back. It's not going to stay there. One thing you can do to make sure it doesn't get squashed is when you're not hooking, take it off the hoop. Also take it off the frame. That's kind of a rule. Don't leave it on the frame when you're not working on it. Do you have questions? Go ahead.
The question is, what kind of hoop is it?
It's a rug hooking hoop. Now I'm going to tell you, don't go to Joann's or Michael's. This is going to be my lecture after this. Go to a rug hooking person that sells supplies, because you'll spend $10 for a hoop that won't work for you, and you'll lose $10 rather than paying $25 and getting a hoop that will work. I'm just going to tell you that, like, I sell supplies. This is not about me. This is about ATHA. But I'm Goat Hill Designs, and I sell all of this stuff. But I have 3 more people that I'm going to recommend to you, and I'm going to say it again later, and I'm going to hold up the names so you can write them down. But Searsport Rug Hooking in Florida, Terry Dorr in New Hampshire, and Green Mountain Rugs, it's Stephanie Krause. They have all been around a long time. They're all very reputable. They all sell this stuff. So they will tell you what kind of hoop it is. We just call it a rug hooking hoop. It's very sturdy, and sturdier than any other hoop I've seen people using in other crafts. So now we have it taut, and we're going to take our hook. Okay, yes. Let me start by hooking on this And then Amy can start hooking on this because she hasn't done it for a while. And like I said, I don't really remember teaching her. So I want to see how she hooks, and I want to tell her what I would tell a rug hooker if she's learning how to rug hook now. Then I'm going to go to this piece, and if you are confused because you're new and you can't see what my hand is doing underneath, you'll be able to see that when I go to this screen that's been set up for me. Okay, Amy?
Okay.
So in here, the wool is cut into strips. We have machines. As a new person, you're not going to have a machine. That's okay, because I can have resources that can tell you where you can go to suppliers and use or teachers around in your area if you're lucky, and you can cut at where you are, because I have 10 cutters in this room. You can also buy kits from the 3 suppliers and me that I just suggested, because they will send you beginners kits where the wool is all cut, and it's cut in different sizes. I have all kinds of tools to show you. So this is the cuts that you can get from the cutter, and this is a cut. This is a pretty common cut. This is an 8 cut. It's 8 32nds of an inch. All these numbers are 32nds of an inch. So we're using 1/4 inch cuts because that's a nice size for a beginner. Usually I start beginners on a 6, which is 6 32nds of an inch, or 8 32nds of an inch. So our pieces are 1/4 inch pieces, and it's solid wool versus texture. And in your kits, you should have mostly solid wool or very tight textured wool, because it has all the different colors and fibers in it, it frays. It's really cool, and you want to use it, and I use textures and everything, but for a beginner it's tough because it's harder to bring up. So I try to start people on solid wool. So that's a solid wool, that's a texture. I think a lot of people don't really understand what texture means. We still have any more questions? Are we still good?
We're good.
Okay, so you take the piece of wool, and you hold it between your thumb and your forefinger. You take that, and it depends on whether you're right-handed or left-handed. Are you?
Oh yeah, I'm left-handed.
Perfect.
Okay, good.
So now you're going to see both ways of doing it. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to have my hook in my right hand, and my hook is that hand is going to be on the top. And I'm going to go down through the backing. I'm going to poke that hole down through the backing. And then I'm going to put the piece of wool on the shank like that and pull it up. Are you seeing that, Mark? I'm not going to go down there and frantically grasp the piece in the middle of that, because it's going to be hard to bring up and I'm going to fray it. See what I'm doing? I'm going to go to the other side with the shank and I'm going to pull it up. And the ends on either side are to the top, meaning that this piece is going to be on the top and the last end is going to be on the top. Then I'm going to go over maybe a hole or two, go down, go around to the other side of the piece of wool, bring it up and put it down, and I'm going to set it down to a 1/4 inch, because that's the width of the wool that I'm using. You want it to have the loops be as high as they are wide. Then I'm going to get down again and go through. Are you okay, Amy?
Yep, I think I got it.
Okay, then I'm going to go down again. I'm going to do that same thing. And when I come up with every other loop, I'm going to go back towards the last loop and set it down. I set every one of my loops, and a lot of people don't do that because they think it's an extra step. I think it's great because I'm fast at this point, so it doesn't take me that much more time, and I can just set that down next to the last one and have them pretty easy. You are going to steam your work after you're done, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but when you're beginning, as close as you can get it, it's good, because you want to learn the right way. Then you can change it however you want. I'm going to go down again, go around and put that loop on the shank and pull it up like that. Amy, you got it?
Yeah, I think I got it.
And Amy is learning really good. Did you actually show your lizard?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. This is all there is, people.
Very easy.
After that, it's just a matter of learning how to do circles, learning how to do straight lines. And yeah, that probably sounds complicated, but this is the only thing you need to learn how to do. And sometimes, oh, you know what I did? I forgot to show you my first piece. And Deborah's going to show you hers too. I started hooking in 1984. And this is my first piece. It's a cow. says drink milk today, and I did lettering on my first piece because my teacher was Maggie McClay. She was really ahead of her time. I mean, she was amazing. She used alternative materials and styles and everything back in the 80s, if not before that. I learned in 84. And she never told me that lettering was hard, so I didn't know it was hard, so I didn't have any trouble with it. It's on burlap because traditionally rug hooking was started on burlap. That's because that's what they had. Rug hooking definitely became a big thing in the 1800s around maritime provinces in New England states, and they used jute bags that they had for their backing. What they wanted to do is make rugs for their floors, and they didn't have enough money to buy carpeting. So they made their own carpets, and they used burlap because that's what they had. They made their hooks out of, say, a nail or a kitchen utensil, and they used old clothing because they certainly wouldn't have used clothing that they were wearing, and they weren't going to buy material especially to make a rug because they just didn't afford it. So it was completely a utilitarian thing. And one thing I do want to point out is a lot of people think you can only use wool, 100% wool. Well, that's not what they used back in the day. They probably didn't use any 100% wool, so you really don't have to worry about that unless you really want to. Plus, people think sometimes that wool is strong and they should use wool, but wool is not always the strongest thing. Silk is much stronger than wool, for instance. So here's my first piece. And as I was telling you that,
we have a question too.
Yes.
It asks if you ever use a wide shank hook.
Yes, I do. The reason I'm not using a wide shank hook, and if you want to see them, within the time constraint, I'm going to go about 40 minutes because I don't want anybody falling asleep on me, because I could talk like forever. But I have all kinds of hooks in here. The reason I'm using this hook, I'm going to tell you why I got this hook, because I think it's great, is because it's cheap. This is all about economy here. I prefer Miller hooks, and my hook, the hook I use all the time is like $75 or $90. It's a beautiful fat hook. But for purposes of this beginner's demonstration, this is a hook I bought on Amazon for $9.76. It's a heritage rug hook. Yours is more expensive than this, actually. Amy's hook, I believe, is made in Canada, and it's maybe $25. We're trying to keep everything down for you. Like, I usually recommend Miller hooks just because I like them, and oftentimes with the person who's teaching you, you kind of go with what she learns and thinks what she's using is best, which isn't necessarily so, but they're great hooks. The cheapest of those hooks is $50. So I don't want to start you as a person who might not keep with this with a $50 hook. I've got a $10 hook, a $25 hoop, and the backing, which you should get from a reputable supplier. This piece of backing probably is a $10 piece of backing. So add that up, whatever I just said, $25, $35, $45. This is $45 could get you hooking. Oh, but we don't have fabric. So you could actually get recycled fabric. I'm going to segue again. There's certain weights of wool that work better, like a rug weight wool, which we like, is a 12-inch wool. So if you go into a thrift store and buy coat weight wool, it's going to be too heavy. But you can actually go there and get wool and save that much more money. Or you can go to some of the suppliers that I'm going to tell you about, and they're going to give you the rug weight wool. Okay, so I must have answered that question.
So I have a question.
Yes.
So here I have a line.
Yes.
And I want to do another line next to it.
Okay.
Do I have to do anything different underneath? Do I just kind of pull the wool over?
You can clip and you can start over again.
Okay.
Okay.
So if I want to clip, so I go down and then I'm going to cut this up here?
You can cut that up there. You can also turn the corner. Mark, I'm going to turn the corner.
Should I turn the corner? No, just kidding.
Okay. Some people do not. This is an old rule. Some rules that are older, I don't believe in those old rules. One of them was you should be able to hook in all directions. I hook in one direction because that's the way I hook the best. And so I turn my work. And so I just turn this and I turn the wool. And now I can go this way.
Oh, okay.
You got that?
I do.
So basically what I'm doing is I'm teaching Amy at the same time I'm showing you. Are there questions on that? Okay. Deborah Jones has just come in. She's new to our group, but she's not new to rug hooking. She's been hooking for 20 years, and she's going to show you her first piece. There's Deborah. Isn't she cute? She just came from rowing.
Yes.
And this is her, oh, look at that. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Oh, look at that.
This is Deborah's first piece.
And so it's done on burlap.
Okay, so is mine.
And so you can see it's fallen apart.
Yes, I didn't get into that yet. Most of us have gotten away from burlap. I don't want to be preachy about this, but I don't believe in doing burlap because it rots. I know that because I was a professional gardener. We use it to ball trees at the roots, and it falls apart eventually. But some people still use it, so if you want to use it, that's fine. But let me show them your back. You don't mind, right?
No.
So we've done stuff we're not supposed to do. Did you have any, oh, wow, yours looks really good.
A lot of spaces.
Well, no, your spacing is good. She's got some situations here. Remember, this is her first piece.
Right.
I've got some areas that I kind of twisted the wool, and you don't want it to be twisted on the bottom. Here's a good rule, that if you don't want to twist on the bottom because it becomes a wear line. See that? I did what you called carry it. I was just what I was telling Amy about how I turned and started going the other way. I just flipped over a loop and went over that, and now this is kind of a wear line, and you really don't want to do that, even though people aren't seeing it. If you're not putting it on the floor, it doesn't matter. But that's a basic rule is not to twist. But when I'm teaching people, I don't bring that up because as soon as I say don't twist and you don't want to twist, they start twisting. And the way to get out of twisting, if you have a student or if you are twisting, is I could almost not even remember how to do
twisting?
it. No, you're good.
Here, I mean.
No, you're good.
Okay.
If you're twisting, here's what you should do. Bring it all the way up, and I don't even know how to twist, but you bring it all the way up and you fix it. You just get the twist out of it and you bring it back down, and you eventually will stop twisting. You eventually will just work out of that. That's a new person does that, and as soon as you know you're not supposed to do that, you will stop doing that. Okay, let me show you if you're totally confused because you can't see what we're doing. Deborah, we have the iPad, I think, is set up for you so that you can do the questions.
Okay. I think you just have to join it.
Okay.
Okay, so here, let's see. I'm going to put this on my knees. Here's a piece that will show you what I'm doing underneath, because this is the backing. Say this is the backing. So I'm going to go down. I've got, like I showed you, it's between my finger, my thumb and my forefinger, and I'm going to go down. I'm going to take the hook and put it on the shank, not pull it up by the hook itself, and bring it up clean, like that. Go down into the next hole, get it onto the shank, bring it up and pull it back. Next one, bring it up and pull it back. Sometimes when I tell people this, let me see if I can twist. They come around, yeah, they do this, okay? And now you've got to twist it. No, you don't. I don't even know how to twist. I can't even remember to twist. You just get out of that habit. But you want to bring them up clean, and you want to go back towards the last one, and you want them to all be about the same height. You might want to turn the volume off of that. Okay. Is there anybody new out there, or is there anybody that has questions at this point? I know a lot of you already know how to do this.
One is, how old is the rug Deborah made of burlap backing? Oh.
Deborah, how old is the rug how old is your first rug?
25.
Is it over there?
25 years.
Let me have it. I'm going to show it to you. Mine is 38 years old. Okay, so I can hear you burlap people saying, see, the burlap is still good. But this has not been on the floor. I've treated it pretty well, although look how faded it is. I actually love the way it looks because the burlap looks so old. I could easily punch a hole through this. And you don't want to do all the work that rugs take and then be able to punch a hole through it and make a hole in it. And my mother hooked, she started hooking in 1966, something like that. And I have a lot of her rugs, and they're starting to fall apart. They're starting to disintegrate, and I've taken really good care of it. So Deborah, how old is yours?
It's got to be at least 25 years, maybe.
25. And hers is starting to fall apart.
Well, cats have done too.
We're cats. We both have cats. FYI, they can be fixed, and I'm not going to get into that, but why use it if you have other alternatives, and we have other alternatives now, why use the burlap? Just saying. The downside is there's so many phenomenal patterns that you come across that are in burlap. We say, and I don't know legally if we really can do this, but I think we feel like if you have a burlap pattern, it's someone else's design, if you copy it over onto linen or rug warp or monk's cloth, and those two are cotton backings that are perfectly fine, then you throw away the burlap and you only hook it once, it's okay. I'm not really sure that that's true, but I'm gonna throw that out there. But I don't hook on burlap ever. Okay. More questions?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think what I'm going to do now is show you some supplies, some places that you can go to get information about rug hooking. If you want to buy a kit, Amy, oh, this is the information about the hook I have. It's MCG Textiles Heritage Rug Hook Wood Handle, Amazon. I find this to be a great hook. I have to tell you, I don't use this hook. I use a Miller hook, which is a more expensive hook. And just for the heck of it, I'm going to show you.
Is that the one?
What's that? Yours is, I don't really know what brand yours is, but it's a more expensive hook than this. Let me just, hang on, I'll be back. I just got beautiful.
Can you read it better?
Pencil.
Oh, yeah.
I just got beautiful pencil hooks. Yeah, I guess somebody should be standing in front of the camera. I just got beautiful pencil hooks, and these are wide hooks. These are gorgeous. Yes, they're Hartman. They're Hartman hooks. One thing I didn't mention is there's two ways to hold a hook. I use mine exactly like a pencil. So I don't know if you noticed, I use a pencil hook. I don't use this little short hook. I can pencil it because I can pencil anything. But this, I use this exactly like a pencil, and I like to hold it this way. This works for me. If you're using wider strips, I think, and back in the day, I think because they had so many rules, they told us we had to palm, that penciling was wrong. So you hold the hook like this, and you palm it like this. You can't do that with these pencil hooks. But there's all kinds. This is not even the fattest hook. You can get a fatter hook than that. Does that answer the fat hook question? Appears to have answered it. Okay.
Somebody did have a question about if your neck hurt when you were leaning into the frame.
I've never had any pain anywhere. So other people do.
Yeah.
So you just have to figure out what works for you. That's a great question though, because I never have neck pain. I don't have great posture, as Amy, who's also my masseuse. She's multifaceted. I have posture problems because my posture's bad, but I never have any neck pain or shoulder pain. I never have any arm pain. I don't have any arthritis. And I think my mother had arthritis every place but her wrist, and my mother hooked several hours every day until she was in her 90s, and I think that's probably why she didn't have arthritis in her wrist. One thing I have to do, however, and I set it up so that I could do it, is I have to elevate my feet. If I don't elevate my feet, I don't hook anywhere near as much as I used to, but when we used to go to rug camps, we would hook for 12 hours a day. My feet would start to swell, even when I was younger, so I always elevate my feet. This isn't set up right. When I'm in the house, my chair would be higher, and I put my feet up on a footstool. I always do. And you can buy footstools that are made in the rug hooking stores specifically for that, but you can use any footstool that is the right size. Does that?
Yeah, I think so. And also people use frames that are standing.
Yes, there's a standing frame. Amy, can you, while we're talking, see that? Bring it over. I don't have a frame. Again, I don't use a frame, so I don't have very many frames, although I am going to show you an inexpensive one. But I have a hoop that's on a stand. And this is another thing. Do you use this, Deborah? Do you have a?
No, I use a regular frame, put it on my lap. Not a hoop, though.
This is a fabulous thing. I have no idea who made this. This is old, and I got it a long time ago, and I love it. So this is how I can work. On this, I could probably use my well, I guess I couldn't use a footstool because I'd have to put this on a footstool. So this is like the perfect height for me to work on. Okay, talking about frames, and then I'll go into the suppliers. So we're talking about the cheap hoop, inexpensive hoop. This is a $25 hoop. I have found hoops that are even more fabulous and more expensive. There's a guy, unfortunately I don't have his name for you, but you can find it out. You can contact me anytime you want after this is over. This also, by the way, after this live presentation, and I know it's early, but that's because my people are available this time, and it's easier and a better, I think it's a better program if we have the people, because it's just more interactive. You can contact me at any time for information, but there's a guy in the States that he does a really solid frame. I didn't bring it out, and the one Amy just had out, that's a more solid, I'm sorry, hoop, not a frame. Frames can go up to, the Townsend frame I just saw it for $799. Clearly you're not going to get a $799 frame when you don't even know if you're going to continue to hook. So what this little baby is a frame that Terry Dorr sells. We're going to hold up these names. And it's, what you do is take your backing, and you want to have it, you really want to have it taut on a frame. And you secure it with these little tacks. And this little frame is $30. So a lot of people, people still tell me that people can't hook on a hoop. I'm here to tell you, you can hook on a hoop. I did a 7-foot lizard. Showed them the lizard. I did this entire rug on a hoop. I did not have a problem, and I like a 10-inch hoop. The one I'm using now is a 12-inch. You can do it, and you can get these little extension things to make it so that you can get over your fabric. So here's a 30-inch frame. Deborah, let's show, in fact, why don't you show, because you use a frame, why don't you come over and grab that Puritan frame that's behind you and sit down and show them how you're going to put your backing on the frame. And show them how you hook. Everybody does everything differently, so this is great because you can see what everybody's doing. Amy's a beginner, and Deborah is not. Deborah's been around for a long time, 22 years. And if you notice, I just took I don't know whose design this is, maybe mine or whatever. I'm not going to show any more of it because what I'm going to say is not a good thing. I didn't like it. So I turned it over and I drew a very simple grid, which as a beginner you could definitely do. If you don't want to do a kit and you want to do your own thing, you can draw your own pattern. Geometrics are a great way to go. And so this is an easy, it's gridded out, it's 3-inch blocks, and basically I did this, the first one I did is when textures started to come out, because when I started we didn't have textures. I did that mat, and that mat was a compilation of textures I got, and this is the only one I have left still, but I hooked them in so I could see how they would look when I hooked them. So I had this wool. You know how you get wool? Those of you with more experience and you don't know how it's going to hook, make up a mat like this, hook it up, then you know what it's going to be like. You can use a little, one of those camera things with the little square plastic things, and you could put some of the unhooked wool in there, and then you can refer to it so that when you're hooking, you're going to say, oh, I want to do a field. Oh, wow, this is a perfect field, and I don't even have to mix my wool. This wool is going to make me a perfect field. And you can see you can go back and forth from the unhooked wool and the hooked wool. And I've made a ton of these, and I use them for table mats. I even use them in the kitchen for hot plates and stuff, because I don't really, and you can wash them. If you use linen, you can just wash it, which is a whole nother story. I don't know how time we're going to get, probably not going to get too much further, but these are great. They're handsome, and they're utilitarian, and they're simple to draw. Anybody can draw it. Deborah, why don't you just hook, and we'll just see another person hooking.
Okay.
There's some wool in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Did you talk about how, because this is something I always have trouble with, is making equal height on my.
Yeah.
And I'm not real anal, so I kind of don't care.
Okay. Now, this is a terrible thing to say. I don't really care either. When I'm teaching a beginner, I care because I want to show them exactly how to do it. But your technique is your technique, and if you really get on people about their technique in the beginning, you're going to discourage them. So I try not to do that unless it's really bad. But what I showed them, Deborah, and maybe I never even told you, or
Do you pull it up and then pull back
you
down?
pull it up and you go back to the last loop because what happens? Go pull it.
Right.
Let me show them what happens. Now I'm going to use one of these fancy hooks. I'm actually going to just pull one of these out and show you here. If what I showed you before is I go back towards the last loop and then I just set it down. Mm-hmm. If I pull it this way when I come up, look what I'm doing to the last loop. I'm bringing it down. And you don't want it to be that low because it doesn't wear as well. It's just better to have it higher. And if even higher than the width, I think is a beautiful technique. And it also makes you hook looser because you don't have to hook so tight to cover the backing. So I set every loop, I bring it back towards the last one, and then I set it down. And that should stop you from getting lower. Is that your question, actually?
Yes.
Yes. It also, if you hook low, you end up hooking tighter, which I'm a low, tight hooker. So you want to try to get away from that. So, any questions?
No, we're doing good.
We're not having any questions. Okay, I hope are people enjoying it? Are you liking it?
Lots of liking.
Nobody's saying anything. Okay.
Do you have an extension you could show them?
An extension?
You talked about an extension for that on your hoop.
Oh, yeah, it is on here.
Oh, okay.
It's this. This is longer than what most hoops have. Like Amy's does not have an extension. Mine has an extension. So I can extend this hoop out by 4 inches. So when I was hooking this lizard, I would have had to bring this. Okay. And you can get these at Home Depot. So let's see if I can. If you have a hoop and you want to try to use a hoop again, this is the trick. We hope, yeah, see?
Cool.
Now you couldn't do that with the normal hoop. So the ones that I sell for $25 actually have this extension in it. But you can get this for a couple of bucks at Home Depot.
All right, so we have some questions about binding, your favorite type of binding. And
finishing.
Talk about washing the rugs.
Okay, yeah. So washing the rugs. You can wash rugs by putting them into snow. That's one of the big things that we do. Oh. It's kind of a miracle thing. I have to tell you that I have some rugs that I wash. Mark is standing on one of them. Excuse me, Mark. I brought this out of the house. This is a rug that's been on the floor forever, and I have cats, and cats do all kinds of bad things to rugs. Sorry. So this is a linen rug, and it's all scraps. This is a rug as a beginner you can make easily and for very cheaply. You could go to a thrift store and get old shirts. You could use t-shirts if you wanted to, or you could stick with wool if you wanted to. You want to wash the wool because you want to have it clean. You do not want to go to a thrift store and buy wool and bring it into the house until you wash it, because moths are after the dirt in the wool. So before you bring any wool into your house, you want to wash it and make sure it's clean. Then you're going to cut it up, and we haven't talked about that. These are cutters, and this is how we cut the wool. And you put it through, like we talked about the different cuts. So you take the wool. Hang on, scissors? Yeah. There are different heads that are in these cutters. And you take the wool. This is actually set up into an 8, and this is what we've been using. And you run it through the cutter like so. This is how you get your cut strips. Just like that. This is a fabulous Boulevard cutter that I think it's about $800. So that's why you probably don't have one of these yet. And so what you're going to want to do is go to a supplier who has basic supplies, and I've written this out. These are the 3 that I mentioned before. And remember, again, this is going to be on YouTube. I hardly know how YouTube works, but you probably can stop and go back and see what I'm putting out here, because I don't know how I want you to be able to see it. But when this live goes away, you're not going to see it anymore. Searsport Rug Hooking in Florida, Green Mountain Hooked Rugs in Vermont, Door Mill Store in Gail, New Hampshire. They will sell everything you need, and anybody that you talk to at those stores will be able to help you get anything you need. In addition to that, I have one book I'm going to recommend. This is Introduction to Rug Hooking by Chris Miller. This is published by Rug Hooking Magazine. We have a magazine that you can buy, and it has all kinds of information in it. It features all kinds of artists. They have a contest every year for celebrations. I do not know how much this costs, but I'm sure they'd be more than happy to tell you if you called up and found out what it was. I'm going to guess 50-ish. It's a great magazine. In addition to that magazine, Amy, you should do this one. This is our ATHA. You're familiar with that. I'm ATHA. We're ATHA. So, of course, we're promoting big time our ATHA magazine, which is wonderful. Our ATHA magazine is only $32 a year for USA, $34 for Canadians. There's 6 issues. It is jam-packed with photos. In addition to photos, let's do our photos. We'll do some more. They like the photos. Let's see some more photos. See all
Also,
the
there was
photos?
a question, what is a good size to start with?
A good size to
beginners.
start. Don't get too small, but I can show you. This is a good beginner piece. You know, it's basic stars and hearts. You can draw this out yourself. You can buy this pattern. I sell this pattern. I sell it with all the wool in the kit cut, and I will sell it with a hook. When you're asking people about what they're selling, make sure what they have in the kit. You want the wool to be cut. You're gonna, if you get it from these 3 people, you're gonna get good wool in your kit. It's gonna be the right weight, and it's gonna be cut for you, because they're gonna assume it's a beginner kit. You need your wool to be cut. And you have to ask if it's got a hook in it. I don't know if all beginner kits have a hook in it. Mine don't, because sometimes I have kits that I'm giving them to people that a beginner could do it, but they're not necessarily beginner. And if I put the hook in it, it's going to make the price of the kit go up. Now look at Amy, because I'm going to go. I just saw a kit over here that I can show you. This is, I can't find the piece that I had here, but this is a piece. Did you?
I'll find it, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to show you this. This could be a beginner kit. She's bringing the, where did it go?
It's right here.
No, that's not it.
That's not it.
No.
Isn't that it?
Done. The education chair is covered up. This is a great beginning piece. Ta-da! I've done it once. I did it twice, and then I love footstool, so I have the footstool. So here's my kit, and I have the picture of the project in the kit. Then I have complete instructions. This kit is for this piece. It's a 10 by 14 rectangular log cabin kit. Here's a materials list. I tell you exactly what's in the kit. Here's all the stuff in the kit that I give. Here's the back. Here's the pattern. You have to serge or secure your linen or backing, because it will fray if you don't. My husband was an engineer, and he is now in a memory care facility, and I don't know how to work a serger, so I'm taping them, which I hate. I like serging better. Tape will work, because you're just going to cut that up anyways, or you can use fray check. I'm just telling you, because I don't love the tape, but mine is taped. And all of the wool in this, actually, see, this one is not cut, because I wasn't doing this for a beginner necessarily. But if a beginner came up and asked me to give her this kit, I would ask her if she had access to cutters, and if she didn't, I would cut the wool for her. And so in this piece, there is another little doodad standing wool circle, and that is not traditionally rug hook. I've made a little circle out of wool. I rolled it up. And I'm not going to tell you how to do it for lack of time, but in my kit, I tell you exactly how to do that standing wool circle. Let's see what else I have in here. I have steaming in here. I have everything you need to know to finish it. Plus, while you're working on it, you could call me or you could email me, and I would give you information about how to do it. I would follow you through the whole thing if you bought the kit from me. I wouldn't say, busy. I would just tell you how to do that. Now, Amy, do you have the ATHA magazine?
I just put it down.
Because in the ATHA magazine, in the front of the magazine, there are regional representatives.
It's on the floor.
Just grab, there's a bunch of them. Just grab one of them so I can flip it through. In these ATHA magazines, I'm coming over to Marky. Here's a list of regional representatives, and the country in Canada is set up into regions, and there's a person in each of these regions, like Margaret O'Connor is Region 1 representative, and you have her email address here, and you can contact her if you're there and you're just starting and you don't know where to go. You can contact her and see if there's a teacher in your area or if there's a supplier in your area. She can give you all the information you need to get started. In the East Coast here, we have a lot of people. There's a lot of places that you can go, although I have to tell you, I think I'm probably the only studio. There's probably not more than a couple of studios in all of New Jersey. When you get out into like Idaho and out of some of the sparsely states, there's even less. So these Rug Hooking Magazine and ATHA are indispensable for those of you who don't have access to teachers, because you can get lessons from them. You can come and you can use their material. As I'm sure you see, I sell wool. I dye all my wool, and you could buy wool. You could buy everything you need. I have classes here every Saturday, and I don't have them that just, you don't have to know how to hook. I just throw you into the group and everybody helps you hook, and it's a great experience. So in addition to that, all the people that I mentioned to you have ads in here. And you can go to all these places, and you can find places that are closer to you. There's also Google, which is a wonderful thing. But we have all these advertisers, and they're all going to be able to help you. They might not all do beginner stuff, but I told you 3 that do, and I do as well.
About the magazine, does it come out? How often does it come out?
It comes out by every other month.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, 32 ATHA, 32 American, 36 Canadian. We have lots. I think we have quite a few Canadians, and we hope to have more. We did lose some membership during COVID, and I think most groups did, and we're already growing by quite a bit. Even our website has been growing. The last month has really been growing a lot. So I am now at about 50 minutes. Does anybody have any other questions? I don't want to get too long. I could go on forever, but we might want to stop now, because I can always go into different topics, and you can suggest different topics. That's what you did last time. You told me other things you wanted to talk about. I could go into finishing. I could go into steaming. I could go into all these things, but I don't know if we want to go through all of it, because we're now at the part where maybe our next session could be steaming.
I just want to show,
Deborah.
I just want to show, this is my first piece of Gail's
Oh,
pattern.
I don't remember that. Look at how cute that
It's a
is.
pillow. Anyway,
Yeah.
I just wanted to show you that.
Well, let's see. We have someone that comes here. She's a professional upholsterer, and she finished this pillow. Look at how beautiful
She
this
did this
is.
beautiful.
So for those of you who don't sew, you want to know how to do it. We don't have time to get into that, but look at how beautiful it is if you do sew.
Yeah.
Is it piped? She's got piping in here, and then she's got
Beautiful
antique buttons that she's put in here, which means Amy can take the pillow out of here for carrying it around or for cleaning it. Or you could also wet sponge it too if you just have a cat issue. You can wet sponge it as far as cleaning. Somebody asked about a cleaning.
Yes. Somebody asked about putting it in a washing machine.
Oh, I didn't finish that. So I would not put everything into the washing machine. If I had prodded it, sculpted it, if it was fine shading, we didn't show any of that. In my former life, I used to be a fine shader. And this is, all those vegetables are in a 3-cut, and the background is maybe, I jumped up to a 5-cut. there's no way in heck that I would put this in the dryer, because who knows what would happen to it. Plus, it might even be burlap, because I did it back in the day when we didn't have access to linen and cotton, which I do want to show some of that before we finish. So I would not put this in the washing machine. But the scrap rug, if this one was finished, I would put this in, because this is linen. It's not going to bleed. I know it's not going to bleed, because it's all been set. And so I could put this into the washing machine. I would never put it into the dryer. And I would put it in, you can get special soap, or you could use probably Dove. I wouldn't put any, I would never use Tide. Don't use Tide. If you want to bleed wool out to make really cool, this is stretching a little, but if you want to bleed wool out to make really cool designs, you put it in a crock pot with Tide, and Tide bleaches it out. Bleach is not the right word. You don't use bleach, but Tide is like as strong as they say it is. So you wouldn't want to use bleach. But I do wash scrap rugs that I have on the floor all the time, because it's either wash it or throw it out. So it depends on the rug. That's the answer to that.
Good. And again, what was a good size starting pattern, or does that depend on the teacher?
Yeah, this is a good size. You want to have something that you're going to get through. You are not going to pick up those vegetables. If you take a teacher, if anybody starts you on this, you either want a different pattern or a different teacher. This is just crazy for you to start, because you don't even know if you're going to finish. You don't know what you're getting into. This is simple. I don't know if you can see how simple this is, and I know most of you have experience. But you have these standing alone circles that you put in, and then you're just hooking squares like this, and it's all hit or miss. So it's a pretty basic pattern. And this, I've started a lot of people on this pattern, and it is 10 by 14.
There you go, 10 by 14. And then how are they able to get some of your patterns? There's questions about the flamingos.
The flamingos on the pillow, that's not my pattern.
Okay.
I just love flamingos, of course. So I got that.
The big one? She just said the flamingos.
The big ones up here?
Yeah.
That's an Elizabeth Black pattern,
Okay.
and you can get it from Jean Shepherd. The only one that's my pattern are these guys. Hang on, I'll point to it.
Oh,
These are my guys.
ooh, yeah, watch.
Yeah, don't fall down.
Got it.
These are my flamingos. And that's probably been on my ad. I have the ad on the back of the ATHA magazine. So those are my flamingos, and that pattern is available. And if you have any questions about anything, just call me, email me. I'm very accessible by email or text. So I think that's probably all we're going to cover now. I think because there's so many ways to finish, and there would be so many questions that we could get into while finishing, I don't think I'm going to do that at this point. I do want to show you something else, though, that I have, that I would love to give to you if I can. I'm going to have to get permission to do it, because it's in the book, Chris Miller's book. I found this great, I'm just going to tell you what it is. I found this great write-up on how to hook. It's a one-page write-up. Yep. I found this when I was looking through stuff. And this is basic how to hook instructions. This is for you newbies, and this will be for your teachers. It's by Happy and Steve Dufresne. They have been they are gone. They are I don't know if they're past, but they're no longer in the rug hooking world. Happy was a teacher, a very popular teacher, and she was one of my mother's rug hooking teachers, and my mother died in 2005, so I don't think Happy's hooking anymore. I don't know if anybody else took her designs, but this is a really good handout on how to hook, step by step. And so if I can, I'm going to make this accessible to you so that you can email me and ask for this handout, and maybe we can even put it in the ATHA magazine. But I have to find out permission. I have to get permission to do that first. Okay, and I don't want to leave you without showing you some backings. Just to show you, this is linen. It's linen. This is monk's cloth, which is a cotton, and the threads they're double threads that cross over like this. That's the weave. Some people prefer it. Everybody has their own preference. I like linen best. And this is rug warp. rug work is very tight. It's wonderful for number 3 cuts. I was crazy. I had a huge piece on this lizard rug that's 7 feet long, and I didn't want to piece it in with linen. So I did this. It's mostly a number 8 on rug work. That's really tight, but I did it, and it's a nice sturdy backing. And then in this, I did this a long time ago. This is burlap. And it looks beautiful here, but it doesn't hold up. As you can see mine, how yellowed it got, and Deborah's is falling apart. So I just wanted to show you those different backings before we ended.
And then here's all your information again.
Yeah, here's all my information. Amy's a good promoter of me. We can hold up the others, or you can just Google those people, our companies. This is going to go, I think, pretty quickly to YouTube, and I don't think it ever goes away on YouTube. So you can just go and you can probably back it up and stuff when it goes to YouTube. So this is not your last chance at this. We're going to be around for a long time. So I hope you enjoyed it. I can have many more. We can have programs on finishing. If we did that, I certainly think steaming could be a part of that, because you do steam the piece. We could do anything that you want to do. I'm more than happy to do it. One of the things, I wrote a book on geometrics, and I'd love to talk about geometrics and the value of values, which is a lesson I think that is invaluable for people when they're starting out. It'll really help you how to color plan your rug, how to set up your rug. So this is just the first of many. I'm hoping to have one of these every month. And so thank you for coming. Any more questions?
I don't think so. Deborah wants to say goodbye too.
So thank you very much for coming. It was fun. Have a great day.